The University of North Dakota was founded in 1883, 6 years before North Dakota became a state. In fact, it was the first institution of public higher education in the Dakota Territory. What's even more amazing is that our first graduating class was in 1889. It consisted of 6 women and 2 men. Can you imagine being those first 8 individuals in 1889 to graduate from this amazing university? Well, those 8 individuals wanted to form the Alumni Association. They wanted to stay connected to each other, connected to their university, and find ways to give back to help this great university keep growing. I think of those first 8 graduates and the dedication they had to the university and to each other, the passion they had for the institution, and really the ability to look forward hundreds of years and say, it is important for this university to have an alumni association. It is important for this university to have alumni like us who care deeply for the institution and want to create opportunities for students hundreds of years into the future. And I look at those 8 individuals with admiration and am humbled by their passion for learning and their passion specifically for the University of North Dakota.
I am constantly amazed by the University of North Dakota alumni. They could leave here 40 years ago, and when you meet them and talk to them, it's like they were back on campus yesterday. They're special. They have this joy, this love for the University of North Dakota and the state of North Dakota in many cases. These people truly are special, and I look forward to meeting them and walking those campus paths with them when they return to UND.
We are so fortunate to have this university, and we must continue to support and strengthen it.
This university opened my eyes to the world, and I pray that it does the same for generations of students who follow me.
The University of North Dakota, quite simply, I think is world-class.
I am so proud of the University of North Dakota. I am so proud of the people.
I was nurtured by this school and by the student body.
But this prestigious award only validates what we girls heard from our father most days. If you can't give it your 110%, don't do it at all.
The Sioux Award is an honor and tradition that goes back to 1949. And this very distinguished award has an amazing history of people who have received it. Political leaders of our state and our country, outstanding business leaders from across the world, teachers, lawyers, engineers, nurses, doctors who have changed lives every day. And yet, they see it as just what they should do.
Without this degree, I couldn't have done any of these things that I've done.
I really want to say that you can make a difference here at the university. You want to get involved, and you'll never regret it.
Because the University of North Dakota is a very special place, a place where an ordinary person like me can get an extraordinary education. An education that really did change my opportunities and change my life.
I have found that our Sioux Award recipients are overwhelmed by this distinguished honor. And I would say that we are humbled by their modesty and definitely in awe of their achievements.
UND truly is the foundation that I built my career on. It was here that I really figured out what I wanted to do and how I became the person that I needed to be for this career.
I will be forever grateful to UND and its professors for those extra efforts and individual focus that I received as a student. They worked hard to expose me to the joy of learning and the importance of being curious.
One of the truest aspects of our society that separates us from the rest of the world is philanthropy, that fundamental motivation and high desire within our society to give back.
As we go forward, there are exciting days ahead for the Minnesota Twins, yes, but more importantly tonight for the University of North Dakota. And just know that I'm personally committed to do everything I can to assist this university in its mission and to assist us get to greater things. I love the University of North Dakota. Thank you very much.
The Sioux Award stands as just a real-life example of what one life can mean for the benefit of others.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the CEO of the UND Alumni Association and Foundation, Deanna Carlson Zink.
Good evening, and welcome to the 2019 Sioux Awards, where tonight we have the opportunity to celebrate the very best of the best. Those to be honored tonight have taken the knowledge and experiences of their UND educations and accomplished great things in the areas of science, education, human rights, business, and medicine. We are proud to call them alumni of this great university. President Josh Wynn has been to many Sioux Award ceremonies over his years in Grand Forks, and I know he enjoys these evenings as much as I do. So please join me in welcoming President Wynn to the stage.
Thanks very much, Deanna. And on behalf of the University of North Dakota, your university, I'd like to welcome you to these Sioux Awards. Congratulations to all the Sioux Award winners. You know, I've been interim president of the University of North Dakota for all of 3.5 months. And in that time, people ask me, so what is your impression now looking at the entire university? And I have used 2 phrases to summarize what I've seen and where we're going. And I think the university is moving forward and striving for excellence. And it is awardees like we're going to see on the stage today who exemplify that. So enjoy the evening. Congratulations to the award winners. And remember, it's UND and we are moving forward. Thanks very much.
Thank you, President Wynn. The Young Alumni Achievement Award was established in 2002 to recognize our recent graduates of the University of North Dakota who have accomplished great success at a young age. The Young Alumni Achievement recipients are excellent examples that with a UND degree in hand and a willingness to work hard, you can find success at the highest levels. I'd like to bring Milo Smith, our Senior Director of Public Relations, to the stage to introduce this year's Young Alumni Achievement Award recipients. Milo?
Well, it is my honor tonight to present the 2019 Young Alumni Achievement Award recipients. And our first spends her days thinking about a manned mission to Mars. Specifically, Andrea Hanson's work with NASA has her considering the physical and mental needs of astronauts during the 34 million mile trip from Earth to the Red Planet and how they'll endure the harsh conditions once they get there. So Andrea is currently the manager for the Central Nervous System Behavioral Medicine Sensory Motor Portfolio. Previously, she worked on a team that managed the exercise program for astronauts on the International Space Station. And yes, she did work on the exercise plan for fellow UND alum, Karen Nybert, who spent 166 days on the International Space Station, and we saw in that video, in 2013. Now, interesting fact, Karen grew up in Vining, Minnesota, and that's only about an hour from Lake Park, Minnesota, which is where Andrea is from. So Andrea told me that she was a bit starstruck when she actually had a chance to meet Karen. She said they all get a little starstruck when they meet the astronauts. But that UND connection gave her the in she needed to strike up a conversation. Perhaps the in might have been, I've been the one that's making you run on the treadmill for 2 hours at a time, but UND was the better connection. So Andrea credits her time at UND in the chemical engineering department as the very baseline of her professional career. And when I talked to her earlier this summer, she said, quote, "I tell people all the time that rocket science was easy compared to the chemical engineering program at UND." She says an incredibly supportive faculty, however, helped her thrive in the program and did set her on her path for her career with NASA. Dr. Andrea Hanson for being part of the team contemplating how to expand mankind's reach beyond the Earth and the Moon. Please come forward to accept your Young Alumni Achievement Award.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be back home at UND. And I just need to upfront thank the former Dean of the College of Engineering, Dr. El Rawini, and VP of Student Affairs, Kara Hallgren, for this incredible nomination. And I just wanted to take a couple minutes to let you know what I've been up to since I left UND. So many years ago when this university shot me off on a trajectory to my dream career. I'm an engineer, a PhD in rocket science, and today work for NASA. So how did I get from UND to NASA, fly 2 payloads on 2 different space shuttles, serve as principal investigator on the International Space Station? Well, 2 things, Scotch tape and Frosted Flakes. And it all started when I decided to study chemical engineering. I had won an award in high school that brought me to the 3M factory down in Minneapolis, where I was shuffled into a tour group with 3 other male students. Our tour guide was a female and a chemical engineer. After bringing us through the polymers lab, letting us look at glue under the scanning electron microscope, she challenged us to make our own adhesives. Well, it turns out mine was the stickiest of the 4. And something akin to that of Scotch tape. And I knew right then and there, after giving that tour guide a wink and a nod, I too was going to be a chemical engineer. And it didn't hurt that it was one of the top 10 paying professions at the time, so I was well motivated and on my way. And I came to UND to study chemical engineering and make my millions early. I had no idea the education I was about to receive being here on campus. The first day of classes, I attended an Introduction to Honors course. It was a small class, 15 students, and I met 2 very important people who are still a big part of my life today. And one of them is here celebrating with me tonight, Lorene Greff Bernhardt. And she and I would go on to experience the study abroad program in Moss, Norway, where we'd watch the northern lights dance across the sky and figure out who we were and who we wanted to be, a half a world away from our family and friends back home. And it was UND that taught me the joys of world travel, the joys of lifelong friendships, and gave me the curiousness to ask about the world around me and want to know more. Shortly after we got back to campus and fall semester began, so did fall rush. Now when I got to the UND campus, I knew nothing about being in a sorority or a fraternity, but man, I got caught up in the excitement of it all. And after all the singing and chanting, bid day came around and I was so excited to become an Alpha Chi Omega and join the ranks of real strong women. Yeah. And it was being part of the Greek system in Alpha Chi that brought me immeasurable joy and sisterhood, but connected me to my community, taught me stewardship, and frankly, gave me a social life I never would have found in the engineering center. It was a phenomenal experience. And here's where the Frosted Flakes come in. One of our busboys, yeah, we had busboys, guys who were willing to feed us food and do our dirty dishes. Awesome. So one of them was a fine young gentleman from Battle Creek, Michigan. And as he tells me, you hold up the hand on the mitten, it's about right here. And if you know anything about Battle Creek, you know it's home of Tony the Tiger. And if I know anything about folks from Battle Creek, Michigan, it's that they're just great. And it was Eric Eichardt who told me about the space studies program here at UND and told me he had just spent a summer working at Space Camp. Well, when I got back from Norway that next summer, I headed to Huntsville, Alabama to work at Space Camp, where I had the opportunity to give lectures in the history of rocketry, rocket propulsion, orbital mechanics, how to work in mission control. These were things I never thought of before, but it was the lectures that I would give in how the human body adapts to the spaceflight environment through bone and muscle loss that turned my world upside down. I was hooked on space after that, and more excited than ever to return to campus for my chemical engineering classes, because I also learned that having a degree in engineering was a rather desirable attribute of astronaut applicants. And I'd go on to apply a couple of times. But when I got back to campus, I was ready to apply all of those lessons in thermodynamics, mass transport, talked to that class earlier today, to the design of environmental control and life support systems on our future spacecraft. So off I headed to graduate school. Now remember, I chose chemical engineering for the promise of making millions early, and I ended up in a government job, but let's forget about all of that because, you know, it's been really great. And while I didn't go on to design E-class systems, I found an amazing education at the University of Colorado in the aerospace department. And the faculty here at UND had prepared me so well, had been so supportive. My fellow classmates, those that I was fellow students in the Society of Women Engineers with, so supportive, that when I got to CU, rocket science was easy. So there I was, following a career of passion, and UND taught me to be confident, to step out into the world, take new chances, and embrace change. And it's been the support of my UND community and the connections I've made throughout my journey here that I sought out that career of passion. And it's been the connections I continue to make along the way that has made every one of these achievements special. And so if you've been following, you may have caught my 3C message, and this is a message I bring to students when I go out and tell them about the glories of joining the ranks of the STEM disciplines. And I issue those students this 3C challenge, and that's to be curious about the world around you. Be confident to ask the hard questions and embrace change, and be connected, because we cannot do this alone. And when you have the opportunity, go ahead and pay it forward. And that's what UND taught me. Through the love and support of my family and friends who are here celebrating with me tonight, I very graciously accept this honor, and thank you all for propelling me along this amazing trajectory. Thank you.
Congratulations, Andrea. You are a very deserving recipient of the Young Alumni Achievement Award. Now, our next award recipient has dedicated herself to fighting human trafficking. Now, and while you might think this is a problem that only really happens in urban and big city areas, Christina Sambor has shined a light on that problem in her home state of North Dakota. Since 2015, Christina, an attorney by trade, has been on the front lines of fighting human trafficking in the state of North Dakota. She's worked with Youth Works, a nonprofit homeless, runaway, trafficked, and struggling youth organization that helps youth across the state of North Dakota. She also has basically helped them by helping them set up training and technical assistance programs. She also worked with Call to Freedom, a direct service agency in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and is assisting in the development of the East River Human Trafficking Task Force in that state. In 2014, Christina was awarded a prestigious Bush Fellowship. Now, she used that grant to gain even more experience and some more training in order to become a more effective leader in the fight against trafficking in the state and the region. Now, this grassroots coalition that she headed was successful in gaining state and federal financial support to start the North Dakota Human Trafficking Task Force in 2016. Now, in addition to all that professional work, it should also be noted that during her time on campus, Christina was very instrumental in planning the very first big event. And if you don't know what that is, it's a day-long community service project in which hundreds of students, sometimes bordering on 1,000, go out into the community for the day and do good works. So Christina, for your very important work in helping victims of human trafficking and for your belief that we can all find a cause and a community that does something about it, please come forward to accept your Young Alumni Achievement Award.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I am overwhelmed to be part of this evening's program. I will say that it is not on my to-do list of life to follow up a funny rocket scientist in speaking. So thanks for whoever put the program together and put me up after her. But anyway, one of the things that really cracked me up about this whole process was the Alumni Association was nice enough to write a very wonderful article about some of the work I've done here in North Dakota. And one of the paragraphs in the Alumni Review talked about how I had found my new career working on human trafficking to be so much more rewarding than the soul-sucking efforts at private practice of law. And the magazine came out basically in the same week that I opened my new law firm. So I do in fact enjoy my career of choice. And that's one of the things that I actually am so grateful to the state of North Dakota and to the University of North Dakota about, is that I have had the opportunity to come here, come back to North Dakota after receiving a graduate education, and not only have the opportunity to address an issue like human trafficking, but also to come into a supportive community that's helped me launch my own business, which is really exciting. So at age 36, I'm now on kind of the third iteration of my career, and I'm enjoying all of it. So I want to start by thanking my family, my husband Nick, who's here, my mother and father-in-law, my mother Barb, my dad Ken, my sister Steph, my nephews Callan, Charlie, and Ellis. If you hear a pterodactyl in the room, it's not in fact a dinosaur, it's just Ellis's calling card. So, and then two of my best friends, Sarah and Erica, have come here to join me. Hi, Ellie. So, you know, when I look back, I really credit my understanding of what it meant to pursue a career to my mother and father. My mom is just recently retired from a 35-year career in working in corrections, in particular with oppressed and disadvantaged women. So when she retired, she was the director of women's services at the Department of Corrections. My father similarly worked for over 30 years in wetlands conservation and waterfowl biology on both a national and international level. And so really from the get-go, I understood that your career was meant to be something that was a reflection of part of who you were, that you weren't just looking for a job, that you were really looking for a way to make an impact in the world. And that was something that I carried with me throughout my whole life so far, my very long 36 years that I've been on the planet. But I took that, I think that belief with me to UND, and I had really geeked out over an AP government course that I took in high school, really got infatuated with the legislative process and nerdy things like that. And so I really was excited to pursue a political science degree at UND and to hopefully be involved in politics and public policy someday. And when I got to UND, I was provided a wonderful opportunity on so many levels beyond the great instruction that I received in the classroom. I remember distinctly, and I think there's a DG table here if I'm not mistaken. Okay, hi, right? So snapping is a DG thing. So I'm walking on campus and I'm this like freshman from Bismarck, and I like see these girls just like walking with these black shirts on with these, you know, a triangle and a, you know, I didn't know what they were, Greek symbols on their shirt made out of rhinestones, and I was like, I gotta get with whatever is going on with those ladies. And so, so I didn't rush the first semester, but I ended up going through the COB, the continuous open bidding process, and was welcomed into Delta Gamma. And I cannot tell you the amount of grace and composure that I learned. I was really proud that my house, while I was on campus, was consistently with the top GPA. I still go on trips every other year with my 5 best friends from Delta Gamma, and we recently went to Key West this spring. And then my younger sister rushed in a couple years later, which led to one of our biggest fights, if I can just give you a quick aside. She and I were fighting at the Thanksgiving table a few years back, and I looked at her and I was like, well, you're just a legacy. And she pushed her chair back, walked away from the table, went downstairs and cried for 2 hours. So sorry. And you're not. You are a wonderful sister and mother, and I love you. So Delta Gamma was just a really, really critical part of my support system at UND, and through the connections that I made and the confidence that I built, I was able to get involved in student government. And so while I was at UND, I actually ended up running for office, and I remember again that freshman year seeing posters of people running for student government and thinking like, oh, can you imagine running to be president of UND? And 2 years later, me and Jordan Schutzel got a campaign together and ran and won. And so I got to spend a year, any of my student government nerds in here? Yep. So it was wonderful, and you know, I'm 15 years out from my undergrad degree, and I still hearken back to the experiences that I had at student government as being so formative for teaching me the kind of work I love to do, to work with people, building consensus around an issue, identifying talents and abilities in other people, and bringing a team of people together to make a difference. And so student government and working on the big event was one of my first efforts at doing that, and I was hooked. And so some of those experiences, I think, gave me the confidence to continue on to law school, and I went on to Pepperdine University in Malibu, California. And if you're going to go to law school in Malibu, you require a bit of confidence because there's a bunch of celebrities running around at Starbucks, and your, fellow students went to Stanford and Princeton, and I'm from North Dakota. So, but when I got to Pepperdine, I was exposed to these amazing professors that emulated what I grew up with my parents, seeing in my parents, which was people that were very intelligent, highly accomplished, but really focused on making a difference. Almost every single one of my professors at Pepperdine spent their summers doing human rights work internationally. And so through those professors, I learned about the issue of human trafficking, and started doing research with one of my professors, spent a summer in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and then after I graduated from law school, did a fellowship with the Polaris Project in Washington, D.C., learning about how trafficking really impacted the United States domestically. So I was congratulated for my law degree and greeted with the global recession in 2008. And so I packed up my bags and I came home. And I was so fortunate to be from a place that had opportunities waiting for me when so many of my friends were struggling to get jobs and to use the degrees that they worked so hard to get. So I was able to come back to North Dakota, clerk at the federal court, cut my teeth for a few years learning to be an attorney. And then in 2014, the Bush Foundation made an incredible investment in me and took a chance on me to believe that I could make a difference in the emerging issue of human trafficking. The reason that I was able to come to North Dakota and have all these opportunities was that we had an oil boom going on in 2008, 2009 that kept our economy very healthy. But there was a flip side of that boom, which was an unprecedented stress on social services and a huge market for human trafficking in the Western oil fields. And so, beginning in 2014, I partnered with our statewide Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Coalition, with our Runaway Homeless Youth programs, and with fellow UND alum Wayne Stenjum, who was an amazing support and help in this effort. And we worked together to raise, I believe we're around $6 million now since 2014 that we've raised to combat human trafficking in North Dakota. And in really exciting space too, you come from a kind of unique context when you're in North Dakota. When I moved to California, everyone thought it was hysterical that I was from North Dakota. I didn't know where it was. Thought it was even funnier that my entire family curled. I was the only one who wasn't a curler. My sister actually qualified for the Olympic trials in curling. So the year that I moved to LA, it was all over the Winter Olympics, and people just everywhere were like, tell us about North Dakota, tell us about curling. Thought it was so funny, but I digress. I'm totally off my train of thought at this point. When I look back on UND, I see that as the formative time in my life that allowed me to gain the confidence to take risks. And I look back at all the different things that I've been able to do, and that's really what the main factor was that I had learned at UND that if I put myself out there and if I believed I could make a difference, that people would listen and people would come alongside with me as long as I worked to honor them, honor their contributions, work in a team environment. And that's really what we've done. So we've taken the money we've raised and we've built a direct service response system in North Dakota that's nationally recognized. And so I'm back on my train of thought now. North Dakota being kind of a unique situation and unique place, our experience with the oil boom and building a response to trafficking is now looked at nationally as a example of what to do to try to get ahead of the things we experience. I've taken that experience now to Sioux Falls, working there with Call to Freedom and many other organizations there. So I really feel like taking a chance on applying for the Bush Fellowship, taking a chance on going to Pepperdine, doing all these things, I never would have had the gumption to do any of it had I not had the opportunities that I got at the University of North Dakota, that I got through my networks at Delta Gamma and student government, and that I got from my wonderful family, friends, and loved ones. So I thank you so much for the honor of being here with you tonight. Thank you to the University of North Dakota for everything you've done to me, done for me. Sorry. It was going really well until that last little bit. Anyway, I just am overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you, and thanks to UND.
Wow. Congratulations, Andrea and Christina. Obviously, very well-deserved recipients of our Young Alumni Achievement Award. Let's hear another round of applause. You have definitely made the University of North Dakota very proud, and I know Cassie Gerhardt is out there. Cassie, how about that for giving a plug for the Greek system and student government? So now, before we eat our meal, please welcome Monsignor Mike Foltz from Sacred Heart Catholic Church for our invocation.
Good and gracious God, we ask your blessings upon Gary Hagen, Gordon Henry, Jennifer Cohns Neppel, and Greg Everson, who are receiving the Sioux Award for their achievements, their service, and their loyalty to UND. Also bless Andrea Hanson and Christina Sambor, who are receiving the Young Alumni Achievement Award for, at a very young age, since graduating from UND, are making an incredible difference. We thank you for gifting all these distinguished people with so many gifts. We ask your blessing upon the food we are about to share. May we always be mindful of those less fortunate and those who have prepared it. All this in your name, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you continue to enjoy your dinner this evening, please welcome the Varsity Bards under the direction of Dean Gillick.
The slash of the rain, go face them. Good evening, and thank you for having us here again. Our next piece is going to be Earth Angel by our small chamber choir called the Goliards.
Darling dear, love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you. Earth angel, the one I adore. Love you forever and evermore. I'm just a fool in love with you. I fell for you, and I knew the vision of your love's loveliness. I hope and pray that someday I'll be the vision of your love's happiness. Whoa, earth angel, will you be mine? Love you forever and evermore. I'm just a fool in love with you. I fell for you, and I knew the vision of your love's loveliness. I hope and pray that someday I'll be the vision of your love's happiness. Whoa, earth angel, will you be mine? Darling dear, love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you.
At this time, I would like to invite any surviving bards to the stage. Sometimes it takes a little longer because this is a big room. Come on down, former bards.
We're the toughest team between the poles. We're rough and tough, it's true, but we're sportsmen through and through. We're the green and white from North Dakota, you. Right, right, oi, oi! Dakota! Stand up and cheer. Stand up and cheer for North Dakota. Pledge your loyalty, for she's your alma mater. True. Our teams are fighting, and we will help them see it through. We've got the team, rah, rah, we've got the steam, woof! That's what North Dakota is to you. We sing a song for you, North Dakota, you.
A great big thank you to the Varsity Bards. Please continue to enjoy your dinner. The Sioux Awards will be presented in a few minutes. Now, please welcome back to the stage the CEO of the Alumni Association and Foundation and 1986 UND graduate, Deanna Carlson Zink.
Thank you again to the extremely talented members of the Varsity Bards. Now, before we bring our first Sioux Award recipient to the stage, I'd like to give you a quick rundown of what's on tap for the rest of Homecoming Week. There are plenty of homecoming events tomorrow, so I'm thinking maybe you should just spend the day on campus. That would work out well. There are department lunches, Hall of Fame events, building tours, and much more. I encourage you to go to undalumni.org/homecoming for that complete listing of tomorrow's events. On Saturday, the homecoming parade down University Avenue will start at 10 a.m., and then you can head over to tailgating in the Alaris Center parking lot, where the football game will start at 1 p.m. And a bonus this year for homecoming, there's even a hockey game on Saturday night at 7:07. I want to give a shout out, a special thanks to United Valley Bank for once again sponsoring homecoming events this week. Representatives of United Valley Bank are here tonight, so if they would please stand so we can give you a round of applause to thank you for your support. And another very important sponsor, the wine on your tables this evening has been donated by Happy Harry's. And Hal and Kathy Gershman are here. Hal and Kathy, please stand. Thank you for your generous contribution to this event. Well, now it's time to pay tribute to this year's Sioux Award recipients. The Sioux Award is the highest honor given by the UND Alumni Association and Foundation for achievement, service, and loyalty. Since its inception in 1949, this distinguished award has been presented to leaders in government and business, high achievers in various industries and professions, and alumni who have dedicated their lives in service to others. Our first Sioux Award recipient of the night is Gary Hagen. Gary recently retired after a 42-year career spent at Mayville State University. For the last 12 years, he has served as the university's president. His passion for education and the joy he gets from seeing his students succeed make him a deserving recipient of the Sioux Award.
Gary Hagen is originally from Annetta, North Dakota. He received his undergraduate, master's, and doctoral degrees from the University of North Dakota.
I think Gary represents just the best of people that come out of North Dakota and out of UND.
For 21 years, Dr. Hagen taught at Mayville State University. During the next 21 years at the college, he took on administration positions, and he spent the last 12 of those years as the 16th president of the university. During his presidency, Dr. Hagen created a new climate at Mayville State.
I think it's a completely fair statement to make that Dr. Gary Hagen saved Mayville State University.
After enjoying a long, successful, and meaningful career at Mayville State University, Dr. Hagen is enjoying retirement with his wife, Deborah, a 1978 UND graduate.
Debbie and Gary Hagen and family, we are incredibly proud of you.
Gary Hagen, for always being an advocate for students and setting an example of how to get faculty, staff, and administrators working together with students' best interests in mind, please come forward to accept your Sioux Award.
Thank you. I wasn't nervous until now. But thank you, UND Foundation, the selection committee, and UND itself for this honor. I'd also like to acknowledge President Wynn and those of you from higher education and the legislators in attendance. And congratulations to all the other Sioux Award recipients as well. And thank you to my friends who came and to my family members who were able to be here. My wife of 45 years, Debbie, son Mark, his wife Jess, son Stephen, and his wife Kimberly. It is an honor to be recognized, but it's a lot more special when people you know come and help you share it. I was quite shocked when Deanna called and said I was receiving this award. I'm truly humbled and especially honored to be here, and I'm mostly grateful because this award speaks far less about me and much more about all the dedicated employees who work so hard with me to accomplish so much. UND was the first college I ever thought about attending. My counselor at Boys State was a tall, lanky guy named Phil Jackson. You've heard of him. Okay. He was playing basketball for UND, and he was willing to share some thoughts about the school with me. Coincidentally, Phil was a UND Sioux Award recipient last year. So only in North Dakota higher education could UND's most famous alumni and one of its least famous alumni come together in an event like this. I found UND to be very large, coming from a town of under 1,000, and I wasn't sure I'd fit in. But I enrolled in a records management course and met my instructor, Dr. Mark Langamo, who's always already been on the screen. He was a young, energetic professor, and little did I know that he would take an interest in this country kid. He became my advisor, mentor, and valued friend, and ultimately be the reason I ended up in higher education. And from him, I learned that people matter the most, and treating others well would be the key to getting along in life. Thank you, Mark. He's here tonight. But a couple of UND stories. An unusual learning opportunity occurred and I was waiting at the stop sign on campus. I was just sitting there. I just received my first nice car and I was ready to cruise the campus to show it off. Suddenly a car comes flying around the corner and drives right into my driver's door. It bounces off, continues down the street, but after a few seconds it stopped, started backing up. I was totally enraged. I couldn't wait to give this guy a piece of my mind. But then, as the driver of the car extricated himself, it became obvious we would not see eye to eye. It would be kind of like eye to thigh. The man was huge, human Tyrannosaurus. So it was decision time to me. I had to learn to make some decisions. Option one would have me jump all over him and risk being pile-driven into the pavement. Option two would have me listening to him and trying to be understanding. It turns out the driver's name was Mike Deutsch. Heard of him too. If that name is familiar to some of you, you'll know he was a star fullback on the football team back in 1970. I let him talk and he indicated he was truly sorry. And after listening to him, I understood the situation and found I actually liked him. And just for trivia's sake, as we talked, each one of his thighs was bigger around than my waist. So this experience taught me it's best not to jump to conclusions. It's important to listen to all sides and to weigh all aspects of a situation before forming an opinion. And I suppose option one is the reason I'm alive today. I learned another lesson shortly after. I joined a new fraternity in my freshman year. It was one designed to end some of the negative elements like hazing and some of the things associated with fraternities. It was to be a new positive influence on campus, so I thought I'd give it a try. The next year I found myself president of this fraternity, and as luck would have it, some concerns developed in the Greek community. And as a fraternity president, I was invited to visit the campus president, who was Tom Clifford at the time. I didn't know what to expect, but I found a man who didn't use his power to threaten or intimidate, but he let the power of his position speak for itself. He was attentive and interested in what I had to say. And I was amazed at his ability to gather information while keeping me at ease. I almost felt important. As I left his office, I remember thinking that if I'm ever in charge of an organization, I'm going to try be just like that guy. But little did I know that I'd one day be a university president in the same higher education system as Dr. Clifford, and I'd have many opportunities to replicate situations like that myself. So I hope I did him some justice. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my time in graduate school. Besides endless case analysis, I learned how to behave as a professional by watching people like Dr. Lemon in education and Dr. Denny Albert in business. Denny's here, I ran into him somewhere. But now it was time for me to put my education to work and see what I could do. I imagine my career at Mayville State's the reason I'm here tonight, so I'd like to share a couple of thoughts before I close. I particularly enjoyed the students, and they kept me motivated and interested every day. And although I was a tenured full professor, I still longed for the calling that brought me to UND in the first place, and that was to learn how to run an organization. The current president was leaving, and it was very clear that the next president would be significantly challenged by a campus in somewhat distress. And I was named president in 2006 and was eager to put my management philosophies, which I honed at UND, to work. I had a dependable, dedicated faculty and staff and a supportive community. Together we came up with new plans, goals, and attitudes. And I also need to thank the governor at the time, John Hoeven, for helping me acquire some badly needed funding. These funds were critical in turning our campus around. We soon had the highest satisfaction ratings in the North Dakota university system, restored morale, we retired all our debts, created a beautiful facility, and now are experiencing our 8th consecutive year of all-time record enrollments. So the benefits of supporting and empowering employees became very evident. No one works alone, so it's only fitting that I accept this award on behalf of all the dedicated employees who made any success I had possible. So I'll close my remarks by saying I was honored to serve the state of North Dakota and to work with many professionals from my alma mater, UND, at the same time. It's now a great privilege to travel around the state and encounter so many former students who work, own homes, and raise families in our state. North Dakota is better for this, and I thank UND for making me better. I'm grateful for this honor, and I'll treasure it for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Gary. Well, all you have to do is mention our next Sioux Award recipient's name on campus, and you are sure to see a smile. Gordon Henry was an educator and influential leader at the University of North Dakota for more than 3 decades. Gordon received a bachelor's degree from UND in 1966 and a PhD in counseling in 1970. He spent 33 years at UND in service to students, and he's never stopped caring. He's never stopped caring about every young person who came to Grand Forks in search of a degree.
Gordon Henry was born in West Hope, North Dakota. He began his career as a science teacher and coach in Tioga, North Dakota. In 1965, though, Gordon's life changed forever. That's when he got a job offer at the University of North Dakota, and he and his wife Pat moved to Grand Forks. Henry would spend 33 years at UND. He held numerous roles during that time, from being a dormitory head resident to the vice president of student affairs.
Gordon is one of those people who has used his gifts and talents to help others and to make UND a better place.
Helping students grow has always been Henry's guiding philosophy. He's even said, quote, "I always believed strongly that I wasn't the vice president for students, I was the student's vice president."
Gordon is deserving of this award because, again, he did then what he continues to do now, which is about building relationships, helping people feel good about being here at the University of North Dakota. I really hope that he is proud of the work that he has done here at UND and on behalf of students, because we certainly are proud of him.
Gordon Henry, for continuing to invest in the future of UND students and for always putting others above yourself. Please come forward.
Hi, everybody. Wow, what an honor for me to receive the Sioux Award for something that has been a privilege for me to do for the last 30-some years, and that's care about students. That's all there is in my life, the caring of students. I wish to express my thanks to the Alumni Association for recognizing my career by presenting me the Sioux Award. I am humbled to be given an award for doing something that I enjoyed so much, which was working with and caring about students. Before I continue, I would like to recognize my wife, Pat, and my family. From 1965 to the present, she has been a full partner in my work with students. We have entertained, and we have kept track of it, approximately 1,500 students in our home over those 54 years. And to my children, David, Judy, and Mike, who shared their father with the students, and for the evenings they often joined Dad and Mom at fraternities, sorority houses, or residence hall dining rooms for an evening meal, we say thanks to them for having patience with us. Students are the essence of who I am as a person. Since high school days, I have wanted to be a teacher because of my positive experiences with my own teachers and the advisors that worked with me in many ways. The more I taught and advised, the more I enjoyed the experience. Assisting the students to me is a passion. Each fall, I look forward to meeting the freshman class as they came to campus for the first time as students and seeing all of the excitement and the potential before me, knowing that I would have a role in helping to prepare them for life. Throughout my years at UND, I advised all levels of student government at one time or another. Some included the following: student body presidents, student senators, resident hall consuls, Pan-Hellenic consul, interfraternity consul, probably 30 or 40 different student organizations, and thousands of individual students as they either strove to be productive student leaders or they were searching for how to be a person in today's world. I enjoyed teaching a class each semester while I was at UND. This gave me an opportunity to teach and to engage students and faculty in another setting. I believe that the university exists because of the students. Thus, one of my action questions was always, is it right for the students? I actually had a sign made up that I had posted on all of my different staff throughout the university wall, so that when they're working with students, it was always remembered, but is it right for students? Is what we are doing right for them, not just right for the university? Each of us is only as successful as the quality of those with whom we work. On a day-to-day basis, the people that surround you in so many ways determine who you are. I specifically would like to thank the Student Affairs Directors for their advisements that they gave me, for their leadership to assure that the student services under their directions were effectively being delivered to the students. Many lives have been affected by their efforts, and in so many ways, I am who I am because of you, and I want to thank each one of you very, very much. I wish to recognize several people who have impacted my life both professionally and personally. First and foremost right now in my life has been President Tom Clifford. He believed in me. He believed in me, and he was a wonderful role model. And a true friend of mine. We started at the university at the same time, and we basically ended at the same time. Lily Nelson got a dean of students, retired, who since the early 70s was a caring and wonderful colleague. I also would like to thank Patsy Neese, who was my administrative assistant while I was the vice president for 14 years. And Lillian and Patsy right over there, well, I can't describe it. Those of you who know understand what I'm trying to say. I would like to thank a very, very, very important person in my life, Dr. Lee Janot. He was the Associate Vice President. He was responsible, probably as much as anybody, for starting the Native American programs on campus. Lee, more than any other person in my life, assisted me in understanding the natives of North Dakota. And I thank you, Lee. I thank you, Lee. And during my last years at the university, when I was wanting to make that transfer to another life, I didn't retire from the university. I quit. I still had 10, 15 years ahead of me. I left the university because I said I'm doing what I'm doing well, and I want to be remembered as the person who did it well. And I made the decision that I was going to go out and be a consultant and do staff development things around the country, and I did that for 12 years until illness said it's time to quit. And during that time of transition, one of the staff who worked with me, talked with me, helped me through all that process, was a good friend by the name of Dean Shrevey. And Dean, would you please stand? I know you're here somewhere. Dean? So I'm really not trying to be too somber about all this, but I'm very passionate about it. I feel very strongly about our university, the University of North Dakota. One of the major reasons I stayed at the university, because I always had the feeling that it cared about me. It cared about me as a person, and I said, that is an important quality. That's why many of you, or most of you maybe, are even here tonight, because you have that same feeling about our university. And one of the major factors involved in all of this has been the work over the years of the Alumni Foundation. You have made such a big difference in the lives of so many of our students. I had one student I remember came in to see me one day and he was crying. He was really, really having a tough time. His brother had died and he wanted to be able to go to the funeral. He literally had no money. I go to the Alumni Foundation and within an hour I have $1,000 cash. And I gave it to that student. He went to his brother's funeral. And it wasn't me that gave it, it was the Alumni Foundation that gave it. It was you that did that for this person. And I commend you. And when I got disappointed with this young man because he didn't come in to see me to give a thank you, and I'm kind of concerned about that because I think that's important. And I went on for month after month after month and month, and finally an event happened. An event happened at the university, and I went to it, and he comes up to me and he says, Dr. Henry, I'd like you to come with me. And he took me back into a little nook in the building that we were at, and his whole family was there. And his grandmother stepped up and gave me a quilt blanket for her thank you and their thank you for what we did for that young man. Think of that. And here I was passing judgment on somebody, but his grandmother was busy making a quilt for me. That's what it meant to me to work with young people, to be able to see the change, to be able to meet their families, meet their brothers and sisters, to recognize what I love doing seems almost surreal, that I'm being recognized for thinking and caring about the students. To all of the students, faculty, staff, and administrators at UND, I say thanks. It is my pleasure to accept this award this evening in honor of all at the university who have consistently demonstrated an effort to make UND a supportive and caring campus and a positive learning experience for the students. I am proud, very much proud, to be an alumnus of the University of North Dakota. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Gordon. Our next Sioux Award recipient is Jennifer Neppel. She is the Deputy Chief Investment Officer for the largest healthcare system in the United States, Common Spirit Health. Neppel, along with her investment team, are responsible for managing $30 billion in assets. Jennifer had a strong connection to UND, even as a child growing up in East Grand Forks, as her father, Dr. Donald Cones, was a professor in the College of Business and Public Administration.
Jennifer Neppel has always cared about others. While growing up in East Grand Forks, her parents taught her the impact she can have on others through her work, and that impact started during her time at the University of North Dakota.
The majority of people succeed not because they're destined to. The majority of people succeed because they're determined to. And Jenny Cones-Neppel represents exactly that.
Neppel earned a bachelor's degree in business and public administration with an emphasis in information management and finance from UND in 1986. After graduation, she moved to Denver, worked at Wells Fargo Bank, and married her husband, Jay. She got her master's degree in finance and once again moved up into the investment arena, where she thrives today.
She took our North Dakota Spirit, our University of North Dakota approach to being a professional, and she's exemplified the very best.
Despite her impressive career, Neppel says her biggest accomplishments are her family and her ability to give back.
Jenny has always recognized the need to give back. She and Jay have continued to give back. It's part of both of their DNAs. To Jenny, I say congratulations for who you are, who you were when you were very young, and now the tremendous differences that you're making.
Jennifer Neppel, for exhibiting your UND work ethic through and through, and for your philanthropy and commitment to mentoring young people. Please come forward.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank the UND Foundation and Alumni Association current and former board members and President Wynn. I am honored and humbled to be recognized as a Sioux Award winner. I'd like to thank my wonderful husband Jay, my daughter Julia, son Josh, and all of our family and friends who are here tonight to celebrate with me. I also want to thank the Delta Gammas, the students and the alumni, and the Kappa Sigmas that are here. It's been a good night for Delta Gamma. But Christina, I need that t-shirt. I don't have one of those t-shirts. To prepare for this evening, I was reflecting on what does the University of North Dakota mean to me and my family. And there were three words that came to mind: hard work, tradition, and family. I attended the University of North Dakota in the 1980s, and you've heard about a wonderful professor, Dr. Mark Langemo, and he made an impact on so many of us, as you can hear tonight. I always remember Dr. Langemo telling us that we had something special. We had a special advantage, and what that was the North Dakota work ethic. I think you'll remember that. He told us that we may be in situations or work with others, colleagues that went to Ivy League schools, but we would always rise above. That's because we had perseverance, could work hard, and could always be very honest in our dealings. This was very evident to me recently with my own parents, Don and Jeanette Combs. They were in 2 car accidents this past year, and it was difficult to recover from both. But last August, my father and I set a goal for him to be here tonight. It didn't look likely. He was going to be in a rehab facility, and with my mother's help and through his perseverance, congratulations, Dad, you made it. As some of you may know, my father is a retired professor from the Business and Vocational Education Department, and he loved his students. There are many of you in this room that he talks about frequently. But I do want to recognize all of the faculty that are here tonight. Thank you for your dedication to UND and everything that you do in the lives of students. And the other word that describes UND to me is tradition. As alumni, Jay and I love our university. There's nothing that makes us more proud than to go to a UND DU hockey game, and the majority of the fans are in the green and white. One other tradition our family has is that in our annual Christmas pass, we always include a UND item. And when that item's open, Kyle Cones, former UND hockey cheerleader, leads the entire family in singing Stand Up and Cheer. So it's a big tradition in our family. And lastly, when I think of UND, I do think of family. As we did some research, we realized since the late 1930s, there has been someone from the Neppel Cones family that has attended UND up until last May when Kara Cones graduated. We count almost 20 graduates from this fine university. And in closing, in closing, thank you UND for teaching me work ethic, the meaning of family, and the ability to carry on the traditions of this great university. Thank you for this honor and awarding me the Sioux Award.
Congratulations, Jennifer. Our final Sioux Award recipient of the evening is Dr. Greg Everson. Everson is a pioneer in the field of medicine, specifically the care and treatment of hepatitis C, a chronic liver disease that was at one time the leading cause for liver transplants. Everson, along with his colleagues, helped uncover and characterize the disease, along with contributing to treatments that have led to a cure that is 98 to 99% effective.
Greg Everson knew he wanted to go to the University of North Dakota at a young age because his mom, older brother, and older sister all graduated from UND. Here, Everson got his degree in chemistry. The Grafton, North Dakota native then attended medical school in New York City and did his fellowship in gastroenterology at the University of Colorado. He stayed there and became a key figure in the march toward finding a cure for hepatitis C.
His peers say that the value of his contributions and his insight and his tireless work towards a cure for hepatitis C cannot be overstated.
Dr. Everson believes that, in addition to developing testing platforms for Hep C drugs, one of his most important career contributions was co-authoring a book to help those living with the disease before a cure was found.
Dr. Everson's committed to lifelong learning in the application of his knowledge to the treatment of medical conditions.
Dr. Everson retired from the University of Colorado in 2017, but his work in medicine is not over. He's now CEO of a company he started in 2007 that develops liver function testing platforms. That company is in the process of seeking FDA approval for a minimally invasive blood test that could change the way liver patients are managed.
To me, North Dakota Pride means setting goals high and working hard to achieve them. It means unwavering dedication to the people, places, and issues that matter to you most. And I think Dr. Everson exhibits those characteristics.
Greg Everson, for your work in helping educate those living with chronic liver disease and your role in developing a cure for hepatitis C. Please come forward.
So I've given a few talks in my day. And there's two times in the course of a meeting you never want to give a talk. The first is right before lunch, when people are hungry and want to eat. And of course, the second, and probably even more so, is when you're between the end of the event and the bar. So I do want to really thank Deanna Carlson, the Alumni Association, the Foundation, and UND. Go Sioux, Fighting Hawks. The other thing I noticed right away, and my brother pointed this out, is the fact that every place I've spoken before, I've been introduced as Everson. But in North Dakota, I am Everson. And actually, my name is Everson. So I thought instead of, I would kind of make my little notes more as anecdotes to you. I did grow up in Grafton, North Dakota. And by the way, when we were living there, we said, this is the 10th largest city in the state of North Dakota. A small town, but with big town chutzpah. So one of my childhood friends is here, Bob LaGuire. And Bob had an influence on my life at a very young age. We became friends in the 2nd grade. I'm now 69 years old. So that's 62 years ago. And you know, at the time, there was the AFL and the NFL and Fran Tarkenton and the Vikings. We had electric football. And Bob and I created a whole new league based on electric football. So instead of the AFL and NFL, we had the AAL. Instead of Fran Tarkenton and the Vikings, although we were big fans of them, we had Bob Snatchroot, we had Stan Lusium. We had the greatest receiver in the history of electric football, Nevzat Kundak. Now, all that's kind of irrelevant because what we really had is Bob and I, we kept statistics on every single little plastic electric football player. And in fact, we took those statistics and we created weekly reports. Sports reports about an electric football game, and you know what? We had followers that couldn't wait to read next week's report. So what's this got to do with anything? The point is that, you know, Bob and I worked on data, statistics, and writing, somewhat creatively. And basically, that's what I did the rest of my life. Also in Grafton, I didn't have to compete with 1,000 other people, so I could actually play some sports. And Roger Mohagen and I, Roger's here as well from these days, from that time. Roger Mohagen and I would agree we should have won that last game. But we didn't. And both of us learned at that time that oftentimes you don't get a second chance. You have to seize the moment, you have to seize the opportunity. And by the way, another very important thing happened in Grafton. I started dating Linda. She's over there. Okay, let's talk about UND. I entered UND in 1968. Probably that's a year that many of you recognize as a pretty important year in the life of the United States, especially if you've watched some PBS series. There's one called 1968, and there's another one called Vietnam. I don't care whether your views were to the right or to the left, or like most of us who were at the age of 20, just completely confused. The civil rights movement in Vietnam affected every single person in the country in some way. As a student senator at UND, I witnessed a big change from relative tranquility, and I mean it was tranquil until then, to political activism, protests, change, and more change. Now, despite the ongoing turmoil, because I don't want to get too serious here, and social upheaval, there was time for less serious stuff. It was the in time, I-N. I'm not Bill Clinton, I don't need to have that defined. It was the in time. There was the in crowd. There was sit-ins, live-ins, love-ins, and of course, Rowan and Martin laugh-in. You've heard from the previous speaker that she had quite a UND bloodline. I can't say I have that kind of bloodline, but we had a pretty substantial bloodline. My mom, Ruth Firstino, was very active in the Alumni Association, and she was a UND grad. My brother, a UND grad. My sister Margie was a UND grad, and my other sister, although she didn't graduate, she attended UND. And I think the cold finally got to her. She went down to Arizona and finalized it there. Lloyd was also a graduate of UND Med School and a former Sioux Award winner, and Shane tells me, I think we're one of the few brothers that have both received the UND Sioux Award, so thanks to Quirk. tell you a little anecdote about my sister Margie. Some of you may know her who are sitting here. She was a reporter for a Bismarck TV station. Anyway, Zip to Zap. Who knows about Zip to Zap? Raise your hands. Yeah. There's people over here, most of my current friends and colleagues, they have no idea what Zip to Zap is. But anyway, she was a reporter for Bismarck TV, and she interviewed the ill-prepared and somewhat despondent mayor of Zap, who initially embraced Zip to Zap, only to later regret it, and the whole Zip to Zap event. Actually, that I think did originate from some students or individuals here at UND. So UND friendships for me have endured quite a bit of my lifetime. Rod McKinney is the person who nominated me for the award, and together Rod and I carried our sacred SAE bricks. Those of you who are on campus probably saw a few weird individuals walking around campus from class to class carrying a purple brick with gold letters on it saying SAE. And that was to demonstrate our solidarity together. So we were friends discussing the meaning of life, or more likely, the meaning of Dr. Bazak's class in advanced calculus and his description of Cauchy sequences, which, by the way, I still have no idea what that's about. UND was also a broader family, and just look at some of the tables over here, which is a bevy of some of the yahoos I affectionately knew back then as brothers in the bonds of our fraternity SAE. But basically, they're still just looking for another excuse to have a party, as far as I can tell. Okay, well, UND was obviously fun, and it was great, and we all grew up together. But really, it's also about what? Education, academics, critical thinking. Although not Harvard, UND was and is the Harvard of North Dakota. In 1972, my professor at the time was a Dr. Stewart. I was thinking it was John Stewart, but I'm not quite sure. And he was teaching physical chemistry, and in the course of the class, I don't know if it was a demonstration, I can vaguely remember that, but all I remember is he demonstrated microwaves. And he said to us, we are going to cook food with this stuff. And everyone's looking at him like, are you nuts? I took a graduate class. I was an undergraduate here. I never did graduate school here or med school here, but I took a graduate class in genetics. And I am blocking on the name of the professor. I'd love to see if he's here or not, but we had discussions about genes before anyone had ever isolated a gene. We discussed genetic regulation before anyone knew how genes were regulated. That was pretty interesting. The other thing is I had another teacher who I'd like to really highlight, Dr. Dan Eads, and I don't really know what happened to him in his career, but I'll never forget the kind of joy and fun I had working with him. He taught me to think critically, to go beneath the surface, and write better. He wasn't in science, he wasn't in medicine. He taught creative writing, he taught film. And that goes back to the College of Arts and Science, from which I come, and the need for a liberal arts education, broad-based, some understanding of the world around you beyond your own limited perspective. So UND taught me many ways to learn, many ways to create, many ways to succeed, and many ways to challenge and be challenged. Which brings me to the most important part of my UND experience, and that's Linda. She's my one and only love, She was formerly Linda Langowski. By the way, she is an outstanding artist in her own realm. And if you saw her work, you would say that far outpasses just about anything I've ever done. We were actually high school sweethearts. That's the kind of way we were built. But you know, actually we were nursery mates. And I don't mean nursery mates like taking care of babies in the nursery. We were the babies in the nursery together. So through 47 years of marriage, we've gone from Cornell Medical School in New York City, Creighton in Omaha, to the University of Colorado in Denver, and along the way we've met many friends and challenges along the way. Steph and Fred, who can forget Friday nights in Omaha, especially listening to Barry White. And there's a Barry White fan over here. At Colorado, raising our two sons, Todd and Brad, and 2 years ago, embracing our daughter-in-law, Jessica Gemmel. There in Colorado, we also had the great fortune to befriend Sharon and Craig Fossil, who have remained lifelong friends. And through Craig and Sharon, we met Don and Linda Wagner. And together, we have cycled and seen various parts of the world, even sharing the 12 labors of Hercules. That's an inside joke. So Craig had sent me a picture around to the group that did the cycling, and the label was a picture of the Nemean lion, which was the first labor of Hercules. And of course, you know, his question to everyone, does this have any meaning to anyone? And of course, I sent him back my interpretation of the 12 labors of Hercules. Well, whatever I've accomplished in my life pales in comparison to what everyone, including UND, did for me, especially my wife, Linda. And simply put, you can take the boy out of North Dakota, but you can't take the North Dakota out of the boy. So thank you very much. I appreciate very much the honor. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Greg. So Gary, Gordon, Jennifer, Greg, Andrea, and Christina, tonight you have joined a select and remarkable group of UND alumni and friends who are shining examples of what a UND diploma and hard work can accomplish. We are proud to call you alumni of this great university. At this time, I'd like all former Sioux Award winners and Young Alumni Achievement Award recipients in the audience to please stand so we can recognize you. Maybe it's because superhero movies are again all the rage this year, but I've been thinking a lot about what makes someone a hero. Of course, none of us actually has superpowers, so how can we be heroes of our own stories? At my State of the UND Alumni Association and Foundation address in late August, I pointed out that our donors are heroes to students who are helped by their support for scholarships, faculty, and programs. A recent study by the University of Chicago found that 70% of college students experience stress related to financing their college educations. Just about every thank you note written by a UND student to their scholarship donor mentions financial stress and how much that scholarship relieves that stress. We have 60 students here tonight who have hopefully, and I am sure have, been inspired by our award winners. The tickets for these students were paid for by alumni and friends who took part in our Sponsor a Student program. If you sponsored a student this evening, would you please stand and be recognized as a UND hero? A former CEO of the UND Alumni Association and Foundation is with us tonight as well. Now, Tim O'Keefe's superpower was to guide us through the very successful Spirit campaign that raised $324 million for the benefit of UND students. Tim, would you please stand to be recognized? The CEO doesn't run this organization or a major campaign by themselves, however. We have some amazing alumni and friends of this exceptional university who serve on our board of directors, helping to guide our organization. Would current and former board members, as well as our Spirit Campaign Emeritus members, please stand to be recognized as UND heroes. I'd like to make one more introduction before we end tonight's program. Just last Thursday, we received permission from the State Board of Higher Education to name the College of Business and Public Administration after Werner and Colleen Nistler. The college is now known officially as the Nistler College of Business and Public Administration. Werner is a 1968 UND accounting graduate, and he and Colleen are here tonight. These two UND superheroes deserve a round of applause. Colleen and Werner, would you stand so we can officially show you our gratitude? Tomorrow at 1 in the afternoon at the Gretzky Alumni Center, we are holding a public celebration for the Nistler College of Business and Public Administration. You are all invited to attend the event. As we've been working with alumni and friends of UND to support construction of the new College of Business and Public Administration, we have been using the catchphrase, "Together we build the future." Well, that future is here with us this evening, as students of today will be the Sioux Award winners of tomorrow, and the philanthropists who take what we do today and create opportunities never before dreamed possible. Would all the students who are with us today please stand and be recognized? And now I'm going to ask everyone else to stand if you're able and join the varsity bards as they lead us in the singing of our alma mater. Please stand.
Hail to thee with heart and tongue, pride we feel and love yet greater, while we raise our grateful song. Home of love, thought and learning, beacon o'er our western land, shrine when still the ever-burning torches pass from hand to hand.
Thank you all for another wonderful Sioux Awards. Feel free to stay and socialize and congratulate this evening's winners. We hope to see you all weekend at homecoming events. Good night.